All right, we are talking about the NFC South right now, and we're going to move on to the next team, and that is the New Orleans Saints. Joe, again, Saints. They, despite it sucks because I thought they could have did a whole lot better last year, and they still ended up at 9-8, and right there at the neck and neck with the division, but just fell short. And that was even despite Carmichael in this offense. Like I said, it seemed not really click, and it seemed that Derek Carr and receivers not on the same page. A lot of different issues. Injuries on top of it too. And again, here we are now with Derek Carr with yet another offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak. So if you go through Derek Carr's career, it's funny to try and count how many different offenses he's kind of had to learn and go through. It's got to be astronomical. I mean, he might just have to be in the Hall of Fame for that. We're dealing with so many different, Tom Brady is, beating every single team or 32 teams or whatever and things like that. You got to look at, Derek Carr and be like, oh, he's played in 64 different offenses.
That's right. He's learned the most offenses any human being has ever learned. And kudos to him. He's got a photographic memory to do so. So amazing football mind, and he is a really good quarterback. People kind of give him crap all the time, saying he's not that good. But I'll tell you right now, that whole debacle that was Pete Carmichael last year, none of the players were happy. Everybody complained either about not being involved enough or the offensive play calling in certain game situations. It wasn't all terrible, but most of it was. So, and that's why you saw the Saints move on from him. And they bring in Dennis Allen's still there, everybody. To me, I'm kind of surprised that he's still the head coach. But now they're giving him the benefit of the doubt, and they're saying, okay, bring in a different offensive coordinator. Let's see if this is the issue, or is it you? They bring in Clint Kubiak, who is formerly of the 49ers, a guy that you have to anticipate or expect is going to bring that like-minded 49er offense now to the New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr. So I think this could be a very good thing for the Saints because you have Alvin Kamara, who's been very upset, even in the offseason, and kind of misleading tweets that he's putting out, and it's almost sounding like he's just unhappy being a Saint at this point. We'll have to wait and to see if it just smooths over by week 1. But again, this could be a great offense for Alvin Kamara. This could be a great offense for guys like Chris Olave, the deep threat that they have. Rashid Shaheed. I mean, this guy blew up last year. Now everybody knows his name. Now people are going to really pay attention to him. But someone that they don't know is A.T. Perry. A.T. Perry, to me, last year in his rotation on offense, made some pretty big plays, made some pretty big catches to get first downs and move the chains and whatnot. And now he's going to get an opportunity to start. And I think that with their receivers that they have in their starting lineup, and then you look at the draft pick they got in Bub Means. Bub Means looks like a very good receiver that can develop to be a starter down the road, but maybe he gets a few more reps this season as a rookie. I really like what they have now. I feel like this is the offense that they can utilize using Alvin Kamara, using Jamal Williams, both of them. And they're going to be able to run this kind of like Niner-esque offense. And I feel like everybody's going to be able to touch the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, is they kind of were overlooked again, and I don't know why it is, just because they are the Saints or whatnot. And despite how inept they were at times, they were getting it going. I mean, they were still top 10 in the league in offense, plus even defense. And Dennis Allen's known for his defense. To keep them in games, and they were getting it. They were still doing it, and they were like third, I think, in fourth downs and like second in third downs. So they were keeping the teams, getting them off the field and getting that offense back on. And if they didn't have those issues, they would have did a lot better. And like I said, Derek Carr getting dogged nonstop, especially on the Madden. I mean, what did they just rank him like a 71 or something like that?
Dude's low again.
Dude's line last year, all right? Let's just look at this quick here. He's 68.4% accuracy, completion percentage.
Pretty good.
3,800 yards, and now is even him, banged up a little bit, and where the offense wasn't there, so 25 touchdowns and 8 INTs. So I mean, the dude was balling,
under a terrible offensive mind. That
Right.
is Pete Carmichael. And let's point out something else that didn't go right their way. The offensive line didn't.
Yes.
Like Trevor Penning, who they drafted in 22, the guy's been terrible. Like and it's funny because when we go back to that draft and watching all the information, watching film on this guy looked like the next great tackle. Like this guy, there was no flaws in his game, very strong, very imposing. And you look, he played with a nasty streak which a lot of coaches love. He finishes the block even after the whistle. So old school mentality, right? Trevor Penning has been nothing but a disappointment. And they're still hoping that maybe this year he'll wake up and realize his full potential. But he was one of the issues, one of a couple, because even on the other side at left tackle, there was no help. It seemed like both tackles just weren't even, they just couldn't block anybody. And they were like revolving doors of letting pressure in constantly on Derek Carr and the running back. So what they did was they went all out. They're like, you know what? We're taking an offensive lineman in the first round. We are not playing games anymore. Trevor Penning didn't work out, but let's hopefully he can turn the corner and do something this year. But Talise Fuaga, one of the best tackles coming out. This dude, I'm not crazy about where they have him right now. They have him as a left tackle, but maybe he can develop to be that left side. He's always played right. So that's kind of what's concerning me is like when you just automatically switch to the other side, people say, oh, well, you're just switching to the other side. How hard can it be? It's almost like writing your whole life left-handed and then all of a sudden saying, well, you're 40 years old. Guess what? You can't write with your left anymore. Now you have to write with your right. And it's like next to impossible, so that's kind of what it's like for linemen to go from one side to the other. And for Talise Fuaga, it's going to be a challenge to him. Now, Fuaga has been in interviews and says like, oh, it's no big deal. He goes, I played a couple games where I had to switch over to the other side. And he goes, I think I'll be fine. But we'll see, because you're at a whole other level now in the NFL. It's not college anymore. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. And then Ryan Ramczyk. Right now he's hurt. He's not going to be available. I don't know if he's going to be back by week 1 or whatnot. Obviously, the expectancy is he is. But if he's not, and you got Trevor Penning now as your right tackle, you better hope something clicked in the guy to where he's going to play at a higher level.
Right. And here we go. Like you say, you talked about this offense. These wide receivers are very sneaky. Again, a lot of them, like you said, if you looked at either one of these guys, you're like, yo, these guys are on the come up. It could be either one. Like you said, people aren't talking about A.T. Perry, and I know it is only the practice and the off season and everything looks good in practice, but he's connecting on some nice ones right now in practice.
Chemistry, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys are looking good. And like you said, even look at the depth even that they have, where some of these veterans can make the roster here and follow up, and some of these guys that have been starters for teams a while back. And so they did focus on offensive line. That's one thing to do. Keep Derek Carr from getting hit and keep him on the field, because again, they do go out and draft Spencer Rattler. I'm not really big on Spencer Rattler, but I think it was a good gamble for them. So who knows? I know our lads has him penciled in the 3rd spot. We'll see if he can develop a little quicker along and see if we potentially see him at one point this season, if things start to go poorly. But Alvin Kamara, like you said, there's been some drama back and forth with this guy too, nonstop, to where he's actually getting longer in the tooth now too. So they can even, I think, do fairly well without him. Yes, he is a main focal point when he is in there, and he does really well. But again, you see how running backs, as they're aging, do start to taper off. It is a fact. People don't always get better, with age. Adrian Peterson was a phenomenal running back, and that was like an anomaly. But they do have Jamal Williams behind there too. So I mean, they got some stuff in the backfield. And the way I think this offense can easily work is with all these wide receivers.
Yeah. What's the deal with the whole hype on Spencer Rattler? as far as the Saints drafting him, and everybody, there was a lot of Saints fans and Saints podcasts even that were saying, oh, we got Rattler. He's going to end up being our starter.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
No. Just because you drafted a quarterback, and by the way, you drafted him in the 5th round. It's not like you drafted him in the 1st where you're like, okay, now we got questions. But like, at least the one thing I'll say about the Saints is that they are preparing for the future. When Derek Carr does move on, or when the Saints move on from Derek Carr, they've drafted Jake Haener in the 4th round in 23, and now they've drafted Spencer Rattler in the 5th round of 24. So they are preparing of hopefully one of these guys developing into a starter for the franchise down in the future. But let's stop the nonsense right now and talking about how Rattler is going to push Derek Carr. Sorry, that's just ludicrous.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
And then I talked about the defense a bit too. And I think they're a little underlooked too. A lot of people forget about this defense and how they have been playing. And Cameron Jordan, even too, at a longer age, getting up there still has been fairly productive, despite, being up there and probably in his tail end of his career. But a few notable names here for me, Carl Granderson, I think has been a really good DN for them too, has really made some great moves. They do sign Chase Young in a free agency move, which I think is nice too, because he fits well here with this, not asked to do a whole lot. He was able to step up for the 49ers in the playoffs here for them last season to make that push. And the signing of Willie Gay. I think when we were talking about underrated players, I think, and some key signings, this was my guy. Willie Gay right there, kind of underlooked, player for the Kansas City Chiefs, still made some great plays. But when you have, Chris Jones and things like that out there, and some good talent on that team, a lot of people don't know this guy, in a household name. And I think you will. You'll see him make some plays on this defense. Yeah,
you had him paired up with Nick Bolton, and you hear about Chris Jones, and you hear about the big names. Well, that's where the money ended up going to, Chris Jones. And they couldn't afford to sign Willie Gay. But what's interesting is the fact that he didn't sign for a lot of money. And he was out in free agency for quite some time, longer than I thought. I thought for sure that like maybe my Raiders would sign him because we were in need of a linebacker that could go sideline to sideline. And again, I've seen this guy every single year, two times a year that the Raiders faced him. And I was like, dude, this guy is like all over the place. And then he became a free agent. I'm like, dude, come on, steal from the rich. Like, go get this guy, and they just didn't. So,
how many times do you see rivals go and take the guy because they see him that often?
Yeah. So, and then now you got the Saints that end up happening to get a guy like Willie Gay, who I think is going to work wonders in this defense of theirs. And they made a lot of changes too. We don't forget that they still had veterans, Pete Werner and Demario Davis, who we talk about the fountain of youth. Demario Davis is still playing. He's mid-30. And he's still playing like he's 22. Like, I don't know what he does in the offseason. I don't know if he's a vampire. I don't know if he just drinks holy water. Like, I don't know what it is, but he is amazing for his age, a player of his age, and still being able to play at a high level like he does. It's amazing. So now you bring in Willie Gay. That linebacking core now, I'm sorry, you could argue that it's one of the best linebacking cores now in the game. And then you look, and then like you mentioned, Carl Granderson. Carl Granderson does not get enough hype. This dude he's better than Cameron Jordan, and it's not close. And I understand where some people might say, oh, but yeah, because Cameron Jordan's at the end of his career. But no, I'm talking about even in Jordan's prime. Carl Granderson is electric. That dude is just a phenom. And then when they brought in guys like Nathan Shepard from the Jets to play D tackle, Kalen Saunders from the Chiefs, who I think is an underrated D tackle, you're looking at, they've picked certain pieces to enter in this defense, and they're going to take another notch. They're stepping up again. So defensively, they're getting stronger. You have the return of Marshawn Lattimore, who let's hope that he stays healthy this year to see him on the field more often. Paulson Adebo, who's made a name for himself with the Saints. And then I'm not crazy about it, but Tyrann Mathieu's still there. Like I thought that they should. Now they drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry, who could have the ability to go to safety, but obviously they're gonna. they have insurance policy there, right? Like they have him in case they need him to start. Maybe he even wins a job. Who knows by week 1? But I really liked him coming out of the draft, and I think that he could carve out a nice spot, especially in the rotation. I think this team is on the rise this year. I think they got better on defense. They got better on offense, not just because of personnel, but also because I feel like the coaching staff is better.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these 2 boxes.